Do you like characters that do great damage and self-sustain? I got the perfect setup for you. Hey everyone, I'm Ronan and welcome to the channel. Today we are doing my first unit overview on probably my favorite character in the game, Berengaria, the Dark Marquess. Taking a look at my growth types here before we dive in, I did change them to be offensive and defensive because I did want to also customize her hairstyle. You can see I did change the hair and the way her armor looks as well. I think she looks pretty badass overall. Now, details for this character, her original class is pretty unique because it is one that you don't really gain access to much until much later in the game, so it's nice that you get her pretty early. She uses axes, great shields, and she's an infantry unit, so you can expect a base mobility of 100, 6 out of 6 stamina, and the greater garrison effect for her leader is okay, but I don't use her as my leader much because I like pairing her with Elaine a lot, and I'll talk about why shortly. For skills here, starting with Provoke. If you saw my tips and tricks video, I showcased how you can use Provoke to pull enemies off of watchtowers, allowing you to negate their assist attacks or assist heals for any bosses and things like that. This is really useful and I highly suggest you use it if you haven't been. Vital Absorb. Now this is why I like pairing her with Elaine. Elaine has the ability to get increased Valor points when you kill the enemy. Vital Absorb, not only will it do damage to the enemy, 100 physical attack, but you gain 2 stamina charges back as well. I rarely run out of stamina with this build because of the ability to gain increased Valor from Elaine and Vital Absorb. Our first passive skill we're going to talk about is Eye of the Warrior Princess. This is a skill that activates at the start of combat, so this will share with other characters. You either have to have the highest initiative, which clearly you're not going to have, so you would need to disable other start combat skills from characters if you want this to activate. This is great though because this inflicts negative 20 attack on the enemies, the hit rate is true so it will never miss, and negative 10 on all enemies as well. That is such a great combo. Enemies do less damage and they're slower than you, so you get more attacks off before they do. This is important because the way it will interact with other skills we'll talk about shortly. We're going to talk about Painbringer next, even though it's a skill you get at level 20. This is really useful because this is such great utility when it comes to just buffing her damage. She gets +1 AP, plus 20% attack, and 10 initiative, and this skill can stack. It is really, really strong to the point if you get it stacked up a lot, you can just one-shot teams. It's really, really powerful. Sanguine Pursuit. So like normal pursuits, this is a follow-up attack. Whenever an ally attacks the enemy, she will follow up doing damage. What's special though is you gain 50% of the damage dealt back as HP, so a way to self-heal, and you gain 1 passive point if the target is afflicted. Well, most targets will be because of Eye of the Warrior Princess at the start of combat, so you basically get Sanguine Pursuit for free. Now here's where the rest of the kit comes in. So Carnage is a typical skill, 1 attack point, does okay damage. What's special is though it inflicts -1 AP on the enemy. So it's just a great skill to do damage and steal some attacks from the enemy like that. Her other skill I'm going to talk about next is going to be Death Spin because this is another great skill. You attack a row of enemies inflicting stun. That already is massive. AoE stun is huge in this game. But its damage is doubled if they are afflicted. Back to Eye of the Warrior Princess. You can see where I'm going with this. And then her final skill that you get is Vicious Torment. And this thing is very, very strong. You attack a single enemy. It does require 2 attack points to use, but look at the damage. It hits twice for 75 physical damage apiece. So 150 base. But if they are afflicted, you gain another 75 potency, making it a base 300 attack. You gain +1 passive point as well if the target is afflicted. Very, very strong. And you can see just from the way her kit is base, how her entire kit works together flawlessly. Now, this is when the loadouts come really fun, and this is not my endgame loadout. This is a loadout that I used throughout most of the mid game, and it was such a great combo. You have the Hunter's Halberd here. The reason I like this weapon is because this gives you follow-up skills doing plus 20 damage, so your Sanguine Pursuit that will heal you is going to do even more damage, and because it does more damage, you also get healed for more, but you also gain crit rate plus 10%. Not bad. The shield I used was the Azure Crest Great Shield here, mainly because it gives me plus 1 PP. Not necessary with how much PP you can get back with this build, but if you want to get it maxed out, it's nice to have. Earrings of Pursuit. Wow, I love the combination. Follow-up skills deal plus 40 damage, which stacks with Hunter's Halberd. So your Sanguine Pursuit here, not only will it heal for even more now, but you're also doing even more follow-up damage. It is really, really strong. And then the last item I used was the Hero's Medallion, that if you try to clear out most of the Colosseum, you can get this pretty early in your playthroughs. If you don't have this right away, simply replace this with another type of medallion that you want to use, or something for extra attack points or things like that. Now, I love it. So when it comes to the conditions here, Vicious Torment, I only have it to where it's afflicted targets. I would rather steal the enemy's AP or use Death Spin to stun enemies. That way I don't waste extra attack points. But if they are afflicted, the Vicious Torment skill will do incredible damage. Death Spin I have as just a row with plus 2 combatants. Pretty self-explanatory. You want to attack multiple targets. This is a great way to make sure they get stunned pretty early. And Carnage, it's going to be up to you how you set this. Of course, I like going for targets with the lowest HP, so she will attack them and most likely kill them. It unfortunately is a little bit of a backfire though, because if you do kill the target, well, it didn't really do much for getting rid of their AP, right? Because they're dead, it doesn't matter. So that's something to consider. If you want her to steal AP from people, you may want to do like highest HP, or simply go to most AP right here. Or you could do least AP. If you do least AP, chances are when you attack them with this skill, they're not going to have any attack points left. So all they can do is passive stuff. There's plenty of other ways to go about how you customize your skills, but that's just some suggestions that I have. Now, what if you wanted a different kind of loadout? This is the loadout I like using for majority of my expert playthrough, and it carried me pretty hard, honestly. But what about if you wanted her to be a little bit more defensive and something else? Well, let's talk about some gear that I started to use towards the end game. Alright, so this is my end game setup here. I am using the axe you see on screen now. This is such a cool axe. Plus 10 initiative, plus 10 evasion, base AP, plus 1. This thing is ridiculous, and it has really, really high physical attack. If you don't want to use this one, my other recommendation for endgame stuff is going to be the axe you see on screen now, the Sacral Axe. Affliction immunity, heal 20% HP when using an active skill, just makes her a pure self-sustained tank. Like, she can just constantly heal from attacks, heal from her follow-up attacks. It is such a great combo. The shield I had was the Mirage Great Shield, mainly because of the evasion. Instead of being the type of playstyle I had with the other build, this is one if you want to be a little bit more of an evasion kind of tank, you certainly can. I have 130 evasion with this and 151 accuracy and 42 initiative, which is not bad at all. I'm using the lucky coin to get my evasion up higher and my crit rate. You can see I have a 43% chance to crit, which isn't too bad considering she isn't a typical crit class. And I am using the Amethyst Pendant here that you see on screen that you also get in endgame, base AP, base PP, plus 1. Now, for those who don't know, you can actually upgrade your weapons inside the endgame in Albion. So if you did want to stick with the retaliation build, you can certainly do that and it will still do some crazy damage in endgame. But for those who wanted a different playstyle, this is what I have. Now, when it comes to party comps, because her entire kit revolves around targets that are afflicted, you need to be with someone that can consistently debuff the enemy. Obviously, going a druid is most likely going to be the #1 pick because they are just consistently debuffing the enemy every single turn. But if you didn't want to do that, here are some other suggestions. So you have, of course, witches because they are just really, really powerful. I like them because you have great support here. The magic conferral, just doing another plus 50 damage on your attacks, is really, really nice. And focus sight, making allies next attack true strike so you rarely miss, is also really nice. If you end up fighting and you decide you really like the vicious torment side of things, I really, really would recommend setting up a way to have magic conferral that would always proc with vicious torment if able. I also really like pairing her with Travis, her brother, mainly because I think it's cool like storyline wise, but he has one of the coolest skills in the game, Shadow Bite. Shadow Bite is insane. This skill is totally broken. Attack a row of enemies, inflicting blindness, and blindness overrides True Strike, by the way. It is such a great ability. And it inflicts -20 initiative and -20 evasion. The reason I like this is for the evasion debuff, so her accuracy is going to be even better. Now, if you don't want to use that, then another great suggestion I would have is actually going to be one of the coolest Housecarls in the game. So the reason the Housecarls get really good and become a Viking is because their skills, all of their active abilities, debuff the enemy. -20%, -15%, -30%. It's another great way to have a debuffer that is also going to be attacking at the same time. Now, what other units would you like to add as well? Well, because that unit is all about doing damage and doing things when the targets are afflicted, you have the Werefox, who is also really, really nice. And I gave the Werefox the glaive weapon. Follow-up skills do plus 20 damage and 10% crit. You can see where I'm going with this because they also have a pursuit ability, Shadow Pursuit. Follow-up attack a single enemy and you inflict blindness. So not only will your other character follow up, your Werefox will follow up too and put blindness on the enemy. You also have weakness on her. This is unguardable and she will follow up every single time an enemy gets debuffed. Really, really strong and ignores 50% of target's defense. I don't have my conditions set for this at all properly, so you'll definitely want to make sure you have it set the way you want. But those are some other suggestions I had for characters I like using. And obviously you want to have some type of support, so use whatever support you want. Now that pretty much covers the video, guys. I'm not sure what else to add here. If you have any suggestions on how I could make this character better or comps, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe and comment down below what you want to see next. To all my members, I appreciate you guys and really thank you for the support. If you want to get shoutouts like they do, additional perks from my live streams, hit join down below. See you next time.